Welcome to Lesson 18, Equivalent Fractions, Lesson 18 of Numbers and Operations. And if you're confused about the numbering system, please go back and watch Lesson 1000, Intro to Numbers and Operation. Okay, as usual, here's our objectives. Here's our vocabulary. So we're going to talk about factors, greatest common factor from the previous videos, prime numbers, prime factorization, which was covered in the previous videos. Okay, simplest form or lowest term. All right, so let's discuss this. These numbers may look different. These fractions may look different from each other, but they actually have the same value as a decimal. If you divide 14 divided by 42, or 7 divided by 21, or 1 divided by 3, you will come up with the same number. So how do we get from 14 over 42 down to 1/3? Well, to go from 14 to 7, we had to divide by 2 over 2. You can divide a fraction by the same number, top and bottom, because we know that 2 divided by 2 is 1, or any number divided by itself is 1. So you can multiply and divide fractions by 1 and not change the value of its decimal form. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 42 divided by 2 becomes 21. But still, this is not simple because going back to common factors, we know that 7 and 21 have a common factor. So if we divide top and bottom by 7, 7 divided by 7 is 1. Any number divided by itself is 1. And 21 divided by 7 is 3. So all three of these fractions, 14 over 42, 7 over 21, and 1/3, have the same value. The numbers are different, but they had the same value because all we did was change each fraction by 1. Okay, the same thing. Equivalent fractions as previously. We can take numbers and also multiply them by 1. So if we take 3/4 and multiply by 3 over 3, and 3 divided by 3 is 1, so we can do that. 3 times 3 becomes 9, and 4 times 3 becomes 12. So to go from 9 to 36, well, we know from our multiplication chart that 9 times 4 is 36. And if you do not have a multiplication chart, please get yourself one or make one. Get some graph paper, take 2 boxes, and draw some lines with a ruler and make yourself your own multiplication chart. 12 times 4 is 48. And as we can see, these fractions are the same. If we were divide 3 divided by 4, 9 divided by 12, and 36 divided by 48, we will come up with the same decimal number. Okay, so now let's find the value of n. So I'm going to rewrite these fractions as fractions equals n over 27. And let's put the negative in there. Okay, so let's think. How do we go from 9 to 27? Well, 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. So if we take 4/9 and multiply it by 3 over 3, we can see that 9 times 3 is 27. And 4 times 3 is 12. So n equals 12. And these are equivalent fractions. 4/9 and 12/27 are equivalent fractions. And notice here, I use a dot. When you get to high school, or maybe 8th grade for some of you, the X will go away for multiply. And high school teachers will use a dot for multiplication. You will will rarely see an X anymore, and I might not ever use an X for multiplication. Okay, now, how do we write decimals as fractions in simplest form? So now, the reading of this number is negative 55 hundredths. So, if I think about it, I have a negative sign and 55 over 100. 55 hundredths as a decimal looks like this. And that's why it is important to know how to read decimals. The last number in a decimal tells you its place value. And if you need to brush up on this, go back to lesson 1, 2, and 3, where we discuss place value in expanded form. Now we have to simplify 55 over 100. Now, one thing we know, if a number ends in 5, you can divide it by 5. So let's start by dividing by 5. And 55 divided by 5 will give us 11. And 100 divided by 5 will give us 20. And it's a negative out front. It's a negative out front. So negative 11 over 20, or 11 twentieths, is the same as 55 100ths. And if you don't believe me, divide this out in a calculator and you will see, you will come 11 over 20 will give you 0.55. All right, this is the end of our examples. Try to practice problems, and I will see you at the end of this video. Okay, so here we go. You tried it, and I hope you were successful. 72 over 96. And this number is actually going down. So n over 4. Now, you might be saying, I don't know how to go from 96 to 4. It's easy. All you got to do is take your 96 and divide it by 4. So now let's do the math. How many times does 4 go in a 9? 4 goes in a 9 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. We're going to subtract 1, bring down a 6. How many times does 4 go in a 16? 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. We have no remainder. This is a perfect factor. So if we take 72 and 96 and divide it by 24, we will get, we know we're going to get 4 because we just did the division over on the right. But 72 divided by 24. Well, how do I know? I don't know how to do this division. I'll go back and watch an earlier video on division. Or what we can do to make it faster is just take multiples of 24. So 24 times 1 is 24. Adding another 24 gives us 48. And adding another 24 gives us 72. So 72 divided by 24 gives us 3. And if you do the division on a calculator, you will see that 72 divided by 96 will give you the same decimal as 3 divided by 4. Okay, now, how do we write whole numbers as fractions in simplest form? Well, 1 and 36 hundredths. This is how you write it as a fraction. The whole number 1 stays the whole number. Hundredths, 6 is in a hundredth spot, so we write 36 over 100. And so now all we have to worry about is reducing 36 over 100. And you say, oh, Mr. Walls, I don't know how to reduce this. But let's look at it. 36, we know 36 by looking at our chart is divisible by 2 because it ends in an even number. 100 is divisible by 2, 5, and 10. So we could start with 2, but we can also move up to 4. But I am going to, for simplicity's sake, divide by 2. And as we can see, 36 divided by 2 gives us 18. 100 divided by 2 gives us 50. And we still have even numbers left. So I'm going to divide again by another 2 because both these numbers are even. 18 divided by 2 over 2 again will give us 9 over 25. And the factors of 9 are 3, and the factors of 25 are 5. No common factors. So 9/25 is the simplest form of the fraction. So 1 and 36 hundredths is the same as 1 and 9/25 as a mixed number. And we'll talk about mixed numbers when we get to fractions. But this is the end of this video, and I'm doing all of these videos, all 6 of these videos, before we get to adding and subtracting fractions so you understand how fractions work. And this is some of the things that teachers may not always have time to keep going over. So it's good that you watch all these videos to get an understanding of how fractions work, how they change from decimals into fractions, so that when it comes time to add and subtract and multiply and divide and percentages and all of those kinds of things, if you have an understanding of how fractions work, you won't be so, oh, I don't know how to do this and get so frustrated with it. So please watch the whole series of videos and practice them. And then you won't have to practice them on your own by going to other sites or other resources to, develop the practice on your own. And thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe and hit that like button.